Oh, see who they attempted to hide behind halos and hymns, under sweet smiles and crushing expectations, under the weight of being too clean, too good, and too forgiving for a society this corrupt. They referred to you as an earth angel, murmured it like a delicate truth, and painted you in pastels and light, telling themselves you were made of kindness, patience, and limitless second chances. They misinterpreted your goodwill for weakness. I saw your kindness and took it as permission. I saw your brilliance. And never forget that light may blind them and emanate from a source strong enough to reduce their whole world to ash. If you ever cease dimming yourself for their comfort, they'll look at you and determine you're too soft and open-hearted to exist on earth. They grinned. Those deceptive calculated grins, knowing they could exploit you, drain you until all that remained was the empty shape of someone who once believed in others. But this is what they didn't grasp. Angels are not soft. Angels are soldiers. Warriors clad in light, entities who stood at the gates of creation and said, "Test me." Carrying weapons made from truth and shields created from every betrayal, they refused to be defined. You were not weak. You were patient. And it is a distinction they will never fathom. Patience is not the same as passivity. It is regulated power. The tiger lies calmly in dense grass, the storm collecting intensity before breaking the calm understanding of someone watching others unveil themselves. One deception, manipulation, and betrayal at a time. You said nothing. You smiled. You nodded. You led them to assume they were winning while you were studying. Learn and record every action, pattern, and mask. They misunderstood your quiet for capitulation rather than strategy. Your sympathy for naivety, not the rope you let them tie around their own necks. And now they're standing in the wreckage, stunned and panicked, wondering what the heck just happened. How the angel came to their judgment. How the lovely spirit transformed into the power that demolished their world without lifting a voice, lifting a hand, or breaching one rule. So let me explain what truly occurred. They're hesitant to look at the photo directly. You entered into their life, exuding something they had never seen before. Genuine care. Genuine empathy. A love that did not need repayment. And their wounded circuits couldn't understand why someone would offer without regard for gender, calculating love, or keeping score. So, naturally, they did what parasites do whenever they locate a host. They instantly grabbed on. They stretched your limits, pushing and testing you to see how much you could take and how far they could go before you cracked. And you, ever optimistic, ever patient, continued giving, forgiving, and believing that they will make better choices eventually. Choose compassion. Choose honesty. However, they didn't. They characterized your grace as gullibility, weaponized your trust, stole what you freely provided, and persuaded themselves they deserved it. Then something changed. There's something within. You did not break it along the way. Light penetrates darkness just as truth cuts through lies. The way a fighter breaks the bonds that they have willingly carried for far too long. You did not explode. You did not lash out. You did not give them a major breakdown. They may use this as evidence that you were the unstable one, the emotional one. What's the problem? You accomplished something considerably more destructive. You became quiet. You removed your light. You completely removed yourself from their circuit. You stopped explaining yourself to others, determined to misunderstand. You stopped sharing your heart with people who viewed it solely as a target. And the hush. Your departure produced a huge vacuum that sucked the air from every area you previously shared. Every quarrel you negotiated, crisis you handled, every storm you calmed. Suddenly they found themselves alone. Their trash, deceit, and disarray. And that's when the reality struck them with the power of a lifetime. You were never an issue. You were the answer. They never earned the glue that binds their fragmented world together. The light that made the darkness bearable. They labeled you an earth angel because they needed to think you were vulnerable. I have to pretend that kindness meant tenderness. Compassion equals compliance. Love equals leverage. But true angels aren't cherubs on greeting cards or innocent tiny creatures playing harps. Real angels are natural energies, bearers of truth, justice, and compassion poised on the tip of a blade sharp enough to divide worlds if used with purpose. You were not their rescuer. You were their test. The mirror forced them to confront the standard by which they were assessed. They failed, loudly and spectacularly. They felt they were studying you, evaluating your tendencies, and learning how to use your goodwill to their advantage. But you were the only one who was paying attention the whole time. Creating a mental case file called evidence of who not to become. Every lie they told you demonstrated what deceit looks like behind a grin. Each betrayal showed you the true definition of loyalty. Every effort to suppress your light showed you that some individuals are so attached to darkness. They would burn everything light in order to feel less embarrassed of their own darkness. And here's where everything changes. You didn't just depart. You developed. You changed from the guy who gave ceaselessly to the guy who provides nothing. To those who demonstrated that they would only squander it, from someone who thought that everyone deserved a third opportunity. To someone who realizes that certain individuals need to be loved from a distance of light years. They are now sitting in little circles. Their group discussions and gossip sessions attempting to piece together what transpired. They changed. They are not the same person anymore. They became chilled. That's the tale they're telling now. As if repeating it will somehow transform their version of events into the truth. They say it in quiet tones, accentuating each word, hoping that no one would join in and support their fantasy. But here's the fact. They're too terrified to accept you haven't gotten chilly. Cold signifies numbness, emptiness, and the inability to feel anything at all. However, you do not sympathize with them. Not anymore. What people label cold is actually clarity. It's precise. It is emotional maturity. It's the difference between a wildfire and a controlled fire. You are not frozen. You are concentrated. You've transformed into a focused beam of intention. Stop wasting your efforts attempting to warm those who have established their identities on living in emotional winter. You didn't turn means you finally established limits. You didn't get bitter. You developed discernment. And you did not lose your brightness. You just stopped letting it burn. For persons who have simply entered your life to take what they have never given to. Now those same folks are pacing in circles, terrified because the reality is dawning on them in ways they can't deny. They did not just lose your presence. They've lost your protection. They did not just lose your compassion. They lost the one person who recognized promise in them despite their own worst characteristics. They did not just lose your forgiveness. They lost the uncommon gift of someone ready to hold space for their recovery while they were actively destroying themselves and dragging you along until they eventually took stock of their life without you. Everything seemed different. The rooms seemed darker. The days seemed heavier. The difficulties seemed sharper. Their mental storms did not instantly settle down because you were no longer around to absorb the thunder. Their mess did not go away because you were not present to pick up the pieces for them. They felt the weight of their own decisions for the first time, without your strength to cushion the shock. And it scared them. But instead of admitting, I lost a good person because I didn't know how to treat them, they took the easy path. Blame, allegations, gossip, and playing the victim. So they never have to face the reality. They tell others that you abandoned them, gave up, and changed. But deep down in their stomachs, even if they'll never confess it, they know exactly what occurred. You did not give up on them. They gave up on themselves. The moment they chose to abuse the one person who really cared about their well-being. They had an angel on their side and regarded you as a disposable helper. They had a warrior defending their back but chose to stab yours. They had someone who would have walked through fire for them, but they had the arrogance to whine about the smoke. And this leads us to something they can never grasp. Your heart. You have a stupid, obstinate, and magnificent heart. The one they kept attempting to shatter. That heart continued pounding. Even if it was injured, it kept hoping. Even when optimism seemed insane, it continued loving. Even when love seemed like self-inflicted wounds. They examined your heart as if it were an experiment. They pushed, poked, and probed it, attempting to determine how much agony it could withstand before collapsing. They wanted to know how many lives it would take to harden, and how many betrayals it would need to shut down. How much disappointment would it take to become as cold, shuttered, and guarded as theirs? But this is the moment that completely changed their perception of you. Your heart did not harden. It sharpened. It evolved. It learned. It became into a weapon capable of rapidly slicing through falsehoods. A compass that identifies tampering before it becomes completely realized. A filter that rejects every phony apology, every display of remorse, and every attempt to entice you back in with empty words and recycled emotions. Your good heart did not become a dark heart. It became a smart heart and knowledge in the hands of someone who had been exploited, misjudged, and mistreated several times. Wounded is the single most dangerous thing in the world for those who survive by draining others. So they are now whispering among themselves. How did they do it? How can someone so kind become unreachable? How did someone who was so forgiving become impossible to deceive? How did the angel become the thing that we fear? The solution is so easy that it almost seems cruel. They formed you into the person you are today. You developed into the version of yourself that could endure them. And surviving them needed a metamorphosis. It needed acknowledging that your energy is a finite resource, not a free public service. It requires knowing that your heart is a hallowed temple, not an open entryway for anybody to pass through with dirty shoes. It needed understanding that loving someone from afar does not make you chilly. Sometimes it's the only way to love them without ruining yourself. What they view as frigid is truly self-respect. What they call change is simply growth. What they term abandonment is essentially self-preservation. And what they dread most is the truth. You didn't lose yourself. You discovered yourself. And the version of you that emerged is someone they can no longer manipulate, drain, or control, someone they can no longer reduce, someone they can no longer reach. Because learning to put yourself first means perfecting the skill of saying no without guilt, without explanation, without writing a 5-piece essay defending your limits to people who never respected them in the first place. It means learning to walk away without wanting closure from folks who were never capable of giving you honesty to begin with. It meant accepting that people would misinterpret you, mislabel you, misrepresent you, and eventually realize you don't owe them anything. Correction, clarification, or access to the truth. You finally realize that your work is incomparably more precious than their view. Yes, they shattered something in you, but it was exactly what needed to break. They shattered the part of you that felt everyone deserved endless opportunities, even while they constantly shone their inability to manage even one. They shattered the part of you that mistook endurance with devotion, that saw silent suffering as a virtue, and persuaded you that their recovery, progress, and emotional stability were somehow your responsibility. They snapped the part of you that thought love included accepting turmoil. And when that frail, antiquated belief system ultimately crumbled, what emerged was someone they just did not have the emotional capacity to understand. What emerged from those ruins was a person who still loves profoundly, but from a distance that preserves your mind, soul, and sanity. A soul who cares deeply but refuses to sink. Trying to rescue someone who refuses to make even the slightest effort to float. A person who still believes in connection. But today people reciprocate. Not folks who drain. You develop the understanding that empathy demands limits, compassion requires judgment, and love requires mutual respect rather than mindless self-sacrifice. And this is the part that haunts them, keeping them up at night, reliving memories like a broken film reel. You didn't just survive what they did. You weaponized it. You put every bit of misery into perspective. Every betrayal becomes a template for what to avoid. Every falsehood increased your capacity to identify dishonesty before the words were completely formed. Each rude act etched a standard into your psyche. A standard they could never reach in this life or the next. You did not recover in spite of them. They contributed to your evolution. And evolution scares them because it indicates their violence did not break you. It formed you. Their disdain did not weaken you. It determined what you would never accept again. You were not confused by their trickery. It taught you how to understand human behavior. Similar to scripture. Like a language that only those who have been truly hurt comprehend. They went out to shatter the angel. Instead, they unwittingly created a fighter who understands the anatomy of grief. The architecture of manipulation, the blueprint for treachery. Someone who knows precisely how angels fell and refuses to tell the narrative. Now they look at you from the secure distance you've created between your life and their mess, and what they see makes their stomach churn. You aren't just doing okay. You are prospering. You aren't only repairing your radiance. You aren't simply rebuilding. You're updating, redesigning, and constructing a life that is so strong, grounded, and dazzling that it reveals the hollowness of their own being. They despised it because you were meant to disintegrate. You were meant to plead. You were meant to need them. They anticipated your world to crumble without their toxins around it. Instead, you became the evidence they never wanted to face. Kindness is not a weakness. Its strength is surgically controlled. You established that forgiveness is not the same as permission. It is emancipation. You demonstrated that angels are not delicate animals hovering above the earth. They are soldiers with battle wounds who nonetheless choose love. Not because they are foolish, but because they refuse to let darkness triumph. You passed through their flames and did not become ashes. You came out as steel. They are currently on fire. I am filled with remorse. They are burning with humiliation that they will never acknowledge. burning from the terrible awareness that they had something special. And instead of cherishing it, they attempted to destroy it. And here is when the narrative takes on a cosmic dimension. You don't need vengeance. You do not need their apologies. You do not need closure from those who cannot spell responsibility without a dictionary and supernatural assistance. Their function in your tale is completed. The lesson was learnt. The chapter is closed not because they terminated it, but because you outgrew the version of yourself that need them at all. Your next chapter isn't about proving anything to anybody. It isn't about being understood, affirmed, or redeemed. It is fueled by your self-awareness, resilience, and enhanced intuition. It starts when you realize that the person you become, the one they worked so hard to change, is the person you were always supposed to be. What occurs next is something they didn't expect and still don't fully comprehend emotionally. You keep ascending. You keep changing, extending, and leveling up in ways that make your former self proud and your previous relationships obsolete. Each step you take brings you closer to your true self. You begin to create a life that suits you so wonderfully, honestly, and unashamedly that the people who formerly drained you become nothing more than antiques. Memories are weightless, names are emotionless, and shadows lack strength. They fade into the background of your tale like old characters from an outgrown show. And while you're out there creating, mending, and building a world that reflects your greatest truth, something else occurs. Something nearly mythical. You become a legend within their social circles. When the room becomes silent during a party, people start talking about this individual. I knew them once. They'll repeat it with a phony familiarity in their voice, attempting to take credit for being a part of your Genesis story and inject themselves into your legacy since yours is the only name in the discussion with genuine weight. We were near. They will insist on rewriting history since the reality is far too embarrassing. They were near to someone remarkable and they squandered it. They lived in close proximity to a life they did not like. And now that the light is beaming on stages and platforms, reality is far out of reach. They want to believe they mattered, but deep down they know they didn't lose you because you vanished. They lost you when you realized you were chasing individuals who were running away from themselves. You're not the cautionary tale. They twist you in. You are the squandered chance that they will always regret. Not the one who escaped because you fled, but the one who quit settling for individuals who couldn't even remain still long enough to mature. And here's the awful reality they'll never understand. You did not change. You just quit faking. You stopped compressing yourself into a little, quiet, easily digestible form that fit inside their comfort zone. You stopped playing the part of easygoing, forgiving, and understanding when those characteristics were really your trauma reactions being abused. You stopped apologizing for being too much when the true problem was that they were too terrified to restrict themselves, too engaged in their own mediocrity, to deal with someone who demanded sincerity rather than excuses. The angel they saw was genuine, but they only saw the aspects that benefited them. They saw your light but not your fire. They saw your kindness but ignored your toughness. They saw your generosity but overlooked the power etched into every inch of your character. They desired your gentleness but never valued the toughness underlying it. They desired the comfort you gave but rejected the authority you had. You were always an angel with a warrior's heart. The paradox. Their restricted worldview could not comprehend a counter-addiction. They could not manipulate. You loved like an angel. Yes, yet you battled like a warrior when required. You had grace in one hand and restrictions in the other. And that magnificent, scary mix of light and fire is what makes you invincible right now. They called you an earth angel and they were not mistaken. But they didn't realize that angels aren't delicate decorations floating in clouds. Angels are the heavenly powers of justice. Angels are patient until patience turns into enabling. Angels forgive until it becomes a type of self-harm. Angels guard, elevate, and heal. But angels also retreat. Cut ties and flee when their presence is used as a weapon against them. Because when an angel stops being kind, the earth shakes. When an angel takes up the blade, it remains sheathed out of compassion. When an angel looks at someone whose soul they have studied and gently decides, not anymore, whole dynamics disintegrate. That's when you realize what holiness really means. The term holiness refers to being entire, complete, unaffected by deception or guilt, unafraid of solitude, capable of loving deeply while also being able to leave with the same intensity. Strong enough to care, but strong enough to stop caring when it becomes toxic. You're not there anymore, angel. That role has expired. That contract was burned. You're your own warrior now. And warriors do not fight every battle. They fight only those who are worthy of their energies. Warriors do not pursue lost causes. They defend their inner domain. Warriors do not shrink to satisfy insecure egos. They stand tall, even if it intimidates everyone who previously depended on their weakness. You lost nothing by walking away. They lost everything when you realized who the heck you were. Warrior. Don't waste their strength on every skirmish. They do not exhaust themselves debating with individuals who have already chosen not to listen. They don't strike at shadows or defend themselves against allegations rooted in insecurity and projection. Warriors choose intentionally, deliberately, which battles deserve their fire. And long before any of this transpired, long before the grief, the manipulation, the clarity you had already chosen, you determined that people committed to misunderstanding. You aren't worth the oxygen it takes to explain yourself. People who reject progress as if it were poison are not worthy of your tolerance. People who perceive your light as a danger are not worth diminishing in order to be comfortable. People who fear depth are not worth your vulnerability. People who mistake empathy for weakness are unworthy of your closeness. So here you are, in the aftermath of their failed experiment, their bungled effort to shatter the unbreakable. You are the one who stands tall, while their intents are strewn under your feet like broken glass. And they're left scrambling in the ruins, surrounded by the debris of their own actions, still trying to piece together a version of the story in which they're the victims, still looking for an angle from which they can pretend you wronged them, abandoned them, or hurt them, still looking for a narrative that will allow them to sleep well. But their search is futile because the truth is shockingly simple. You were excellent. They were broken. Not faulty, not flawed, not merely human, not wounded in a manner that made them strive more. No, they were damaged in a manner that rendered them harmful. Instead of allowing your generosity smooth the sharp edges of their pain. Instead of letting your presence uplift them, instead of allowing your light to show them a better path, they decided to pollute the water, opted to bring you down to the level where they resided emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. They sought to make you as cynical, as angry, as closed off as they were. Misery enjoys company after all, and you refused to be theirs. And when it didn't work, when you refused to rot alongside them, something inside them broke. They didn't only fail to break you. They failed to shatter your spirit, your hope, your identity. They discovered tragically what happens when you push an angel too far. You do not acquire a demon. You get something significantly more haunting. A fully awakened angel. Someone who sees you with absolute clarity. You get someone who sees through every disguise, excuse, and deception. Someone who sees the reality behind your actions. And your words include falsehoods. Someone who can look at your full personality and decide without hesitation to eliminate you from their life entirely. Not out of anger or revenge, but out of self-respect. That's what scares them. Not your wrath, conflict, fury, quiet, absence, or removal. There is no resolution. More final, no penalty, more terrible than being removed from someone's life who previously loved enough to remain despite all red flags. Because fury still indicates that you care. Arguments still indicate that you are invested. Explaining yourself still indicates that you feel they can comprehend. Silence, distance, detachment. That implies you are done. Irrevocably done. And here's what really shatters them. Your kind heart did not shatter their perverted minds. Your good nature exposed them. It revealed who they were behind closed doors, when no one was looking and no confirmation could be obtained. You put up a mirror that was so clean, honest, and inescapable that they could no longer lie to themselves. It exposed their selfishness, manipulation, harshness, and incapacity to love others without exploiting them. You were the live, breathing proof of everything they weren't and refused to be. Your truth endangered their fiction, your sincerity revealed their performance, and your progress exposed their stagnation. Your development exposed their will to remain precisely the same. They couldn't handle it. Not for 1 second. They couldn't bear seeing your transformation into someone strong while they remained caught in their own emotional quagmire. They couldn't bear seeing you free while they stayed stuck in their own habits. They couldn't take the fact that the person they sought to kill had become the version of themselves they had always wanted to be but never had the confidence to strive for. They couldn't handle it. Your lights did not flicker. It became more intense. It got brighter, sharper, and more concentrated. It became a beacon, illuminating all of their shadows. And now they are the ones plagued by remorse. They will never confess their shame. They will never be confronted with your recollection. They will never be able to flee since they have finally understood. They didn't abandon you because you weren't enough. They lost you because you were too honest for a lie-loving society. Too much depth for those who only have surface-level interactions, too much love for people who only know how to accept, and too much progress for people who see stasis as a safe haven. Above all, you became something people didn't anticipate. Free, total, self-approved, and completely untouchable. Only internal affirmation has ever actually mattered. The only approval that has any real force is the approval you give to yourself. And the only person who has ever needed to believe in your strength, value, and potential is the one who looks back at you in the mirror every morning. That awareness is what gives you freedom. Not their apologies, understanding, or regrets. You selected yourself. And that decision changed your whole existence. Meanwhile, they'll spend years attempting to figure out what occurred. Years spent revisiting talks, analyzing the moment they lost their capacity to influence you, and attempting to pinpoint when you slid out of their grasp like water between clenched fingers. They will re-examine the chronology, wondering whether they could have said something different, done something different, or been someone better, and the answer, the reality that haunts them, is that they surely could have. They may have chosen honesty over half-truths. And there are excuses. They may have decided to evolve instead of staying in their stagnant comfort zone. They may have chosen genuine love over the transactional convenience version they provided you. They may have prioritized responsibility over ego. However, they didn't. They picked themselves. But not in the healthy, self-aware manner. They selected themselves in the most self-centered, myopic, and emotionally lazy manner conceivable. They always choose their ego before your emotions. They prioritized their pride before your tranquility. They chose instant satisfaction over the prospect of a long-term relationship without hesitation. They opted to defend their image above safeguarding your connection. And now, they can now live with that decision. Not for a week, not for a year. For as long as they have a remembrance of you, which will be their whole existence. They get to watch from the sidelines while you rebuild from the ground up, transforming the ashes of who you once were into the foundation of an empire. While you make beauty out of the ruins they left behind, while you grow, heal, and transform into a version of yourself they never dreamed you could be because they never anticipated you to be free of them. They will see you fall in love again. Trust again. Open your heart again. But this time you're moving differently. This time your love for knowledge is etched into your spirit by every scar they gave you. This time your heart is shielded by bounds they built on every line they crossed. This time your standards are formed by everyone who has failed to reach them. You were their earth angel, whether they realized it or not, and you were their opportunity at redemption, their peek into unconditional love. They had a rare chance to connect with someone who did not seek to exploit, manipulate, or deplete them. You were the purest thing that had ever entered their lives, yet they treated you as if you were a placeholder, a stepping stone, or a bandage for a deep wound. They refused to treat themselves. And now, you are now gone. Not dead, shattered, or bitter, simply gone. Removed from their chronology and lifted above their grasp. You reside in a realm that they cannot penetrate. You're prospering in an area they can't reach. You are living a life that they are no longer allowed to influence. Your departure is the justice you never requested but fully earned. It is not punishment. It's a natural consequence. It's not vengeance. It's an alignment. It is not hate. It is indifference. The type of apathy that comes from realizing that not everyone who comes into your life is destined to remain. That some individuals are lessons disguised as blessings, that certain chapters are meant to end abruptly without clean resolves or tidy endings, that some hearts are just not ready for the depth, loyalty, and love you provide, and that their unsteadiness reflects them, not you. And this is the truth. They'll never be able to escape. They didn't abandon you because you weren't enough. They have lost you. They were not competent. They were not prepared. They were not willing. And the loss, the deep echoing void you left behind, is theirs to bear, not yours. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the development of my faith. Please help me trust you. Even when tangible proof is absent, let me trust in your eternal presence, knowing that you will never hurt me. I realize that your intentions for me are ones of success rather than harm, in order to provide me with a bright future. Thank you, kind and everlasting Father, for always hearing my voice. I give this prayer to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provisions. I am thankful for your presence in my life and the richness you provide. If this video spoke to you, please subscribe to the channel and share it with others who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your trip and how you're getting ready for your own victorious homecoming. If you would want to help us out, please consider donating via Buy Me a Coffee. This allows us to consistently improve our content in order to provide you with the best possible experience. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No present is too tiny. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity spreads God's message and gives people hope. Do not stop here. Watch our next video for amazing insights into the indicators that indicate you are the chosen one. We've loved sharing this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for sticking with us until the finish. Keep shining brightly and face your fate with confidence. See you next time. Enlightened knowledge bestows blessings to all lovely individuals.